I guess I should start by saying thank you very much. It's actually very humbling to be standing again, actually, at the University of Michigan. I was actually here yesterday. Maybe I should find myself an apartment in Ann Arbor. It would be a lot easier for me to get here.
A dorm room.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I would still be able to pass the entrance exam. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm an engineer, not a politician. So I guess that there's a bunch of engineers and scientists in the room. So I'm sort of standing at the front here, very humbled by that. What I'd say to you, and I think this is not that well known, but very, very early in my career I started my own company, and it was actually based around shock physics. And we applied shock physics at a very early stage on personal computers to analyse shock waves in structures. And we developed some very, very early techniques related to the inflation of airbags. And we thought we were an automotive company, and then the defence industry woke up to us and said, hey, we've got all sorts of things going on in the defence industry related to blast-on structures, related to shaped charges and heat rounds and the like, and fusing of intercontinental ballistic missiles and the like. So actually I found myself running a business which had a foot very squarely in the defence industry, and it was a NATO-based. Okay, I was in the UK at the time, but actually we were very, very intimately involved on a day-by-day basis with David Taylor Ship Research Centre, Picatinny Arsenal, the US Ordnance Board, and all sorts of organisations. So we were dragged via our technology. So there was a pull on us from the DoD and a pull on us from industry, which made us successful. That was pretty interesting for me, and I wanted to share that with you so that you can see that really, you know, within my heart, yeah, I'm like the car guy in the state of Michigan, but I have at least an understanding of the importance of the defence industry and the intersection between the defence industry and the automotive industry in the nation, and very specifically in Michigan. And I'll apologise in advance. I'm employed by the state of Michigan, so I want it all to be in Michigan. So anybody that's not in Michigan in the room, come and see me later and we'll just work on that with you. Okay, we'll work on that with you. So, as stated, on the 1st of September last year, our Governor Snyder, appointed me as the advisor for the automotive industry, which is our #1 industry for the state of Michigan. And he also asked me to set up an automotive office to focus on the retention and growth of that great industry in the state of Michigan. So, you know, I think those of you that live in the state certainly understand that the governor's a business guy. I come from industry. So the way I actually look at my role is that the great businesses in the state of Michigan are actually my customers. And I believe that if I was in industry, I'm effectively the guy that's in charge of the business unit that's responsible for the principal revenue stream in the company, which is the state of Michigan. So that would be the analogy between government and industry. Those people that know me know that I'm as far away from a politician or a diplomat as you can get. I'm an industry guy, and I learned a long time ago that the earlier that you actually get the problems on the table, the cheaper it is to fix them, the shorter time that you take to fix them, and you actually get to market faster than your competitor who's sitting there doing the mumbo jumbo and the discussions where nobody wants to admit that they've got a problem, right? So I'm all about getting the stuff out on the table and then providing a solution. And I think you know that scientists and engineers provide solutions. So I'd just like to say a few words about you know, what we're doing, and really there's an intersection between my mission and the mission of ARC. And because of that, I'm actually very, very pleased to be here. And of course, I've been asked by Anna to say some very specific words, which is why I'm holding this piece of paper. But I agree with everything you're saying. Yeah.
Okay,
so, not surprisingly, we developed a vision and a mission. And actually, the key element of that really, in my mind, is to understand that in the state of Michigan, in the great automotive industry that we're the leader of, we have a whole bunch of manufacturing expertise and a whole bunch of product development and design and engineering expertise. And there's an intellectual content that actually flows between them. There's an intellectual content that flows between them. Now what we found in our work is that it's unlikely that the vehicle sales in the North American region will go over 18 million units per year over the next 30 years. And we're currently at roughly 16.5 million. So if anybody thinks that we're actually going to get huge growth on purely manufacturing, actually making things in automotive in the state of Michigan, they're very, very probably wrong. So we're actually going to get the growth from somewhere else. And that growth, we believe, will come from the intellectual content that spans right the way across that industry. There's some of it exists in manufacturing for sure, and in product development, design and engineering. So it's actually all about what goes on in great universities like the University of Michigan and others that are here. I don't wish to be disrespectful to anybody else that's here, but I'm very mindful of the fact that I'm in a place that I should say go blue, right? Okay. So we then developed a strategy, and that strategy is now online and it's published here, and that's what it looks like in its glossy brochure form. Online there's actually a PowerPoint which gives you a bit more information, which is about 30 slides. Actually behind that PowerPoint there's a lot more information which is actually available at the state. So how did we get to that strategy? What we did was we took the global megatrends, we devolved those global megatrends down into what we believe would be important for the automotive industry, and we studied those over a 30-year time frame on a global, a NAFTA, and a regional, where regional is Michigan plus the adjacent states to Michigan, including Ontario. And we came up with some conclusions. Now, I understand that I'm surrounded by a bunch of people which are at least as analytical as me and a lot smarter. So what we actually did in engineering speak was we defined a design space 30 years from the future, which, as you know, is a singularity. So what we did was we made a list of perturbators to that design space, and what we're doing is we're studying those on a day-by-day, week-by-week, month-by-month basis, such that if any of those perturbators change, those assumptions change, obviously we will adjust our plan because our design space is moving. So I think it's wonderful that you know, we have a small team in the government that's actually thinking analytically, but here in the state, about our industry, and because of that, we're able to make some conclusions. So the study of the global megatrends gave these key areas that we believe are important. And this presentation is available afterwards, so please take some time to study it afterwards. It's good bedtime reading for most engineers or scientists. The accountants get a bit lost after page one normally, but that's okay. So looking at the same things and then really what the drivers become. So this is the same major titles on this slide, and the bullet points below the major titles are really the core areas that we think are important. And then overlaid on here in red are the research contributions from ARC. And as you can see, there's a lot of red on the slide, which is very heartening to me, because that tells me that ARC is actually aligned broadly, maybe a bit more than broadly actually, aligned with what we think is important from a study which involved about 50 global experts in a cross-functional team. That's how we ended up with our strategy. So this is very heartening for me. There are some things that I would love to debate, and I think we should debate at a later date, right? But there's a great deal of alignment, and not surprisingly, you know, there's things in the military that have wheels, and there's plenty of things that are out on the road, consumer product called an automobile that's got wheels, and there's a clear intersection. And there's colleagues here from TARDEC and the departments in TARDEC, and it's a great to see you here. And we're already trying to work together, and I think we've found some areas that we can work together. So then Anna actually briefed me on what was going to be outside the posters and everything with the great work that everybody's doing, and unfortunately I don't have the time today to actually look at them in detail, but I read things at weekends and on aeroplanes. Send me some more stuff, you know, and I will look at it. So, you know, there's some case studies going on that are part of your 2-day event here. Modularity, you know, we pick out, there's 3 pieces of red on here. Modularity. The car business, the passenger car business, is going through a transformation as we speak. Each major car company in the world has worked out that they can actually be more efficient and they can save money by having modular platforms, what they call modular platforms. Now this is something that we studied in great detail, because let me tell you, if we're sitting here in the state of Michigan and the plants that are going to be producing the modular platforms of the future aren't in the state of Michigan, we're probably not going to be in good shape. We've already, don't panic, everybody can stay sitting down. We've been through that study and it looks like we're in really good shape. But that's what happens, you know, when people rationalise, and in the defence industry, of course, you know, there's increasing cost pressure. I'm no expert on it, but the fact that modularity is being studied is great, and I would say that certainly in the passenger car industry, it's a clear case study that it works. It works. Probably the leader in that in the world actually is Volkswagen and Audi. However, we're lucky that we've got 3 OEs that are headquartered in the state of Michigan that are not far behind them. Fuel. Now you see, fuel is actually an interesting word to me, because actually fuel to me is any form of energy device that actually moves something along, but I think you mean fossil fuels. Huh? I'd love to have the debate about fossil fuels. I'm not going to do it here, but in our work I would say this.
It can be renewable.
Yeah. What I'd say.
Alternative.
Yeah, exactly. What I'd say about fossil fuels is that in our work we believe that provided that fracking continues in the US, there's probably not going to be a fossil fuel shortage. However, big assumption. Okay, so what should we do? I think that what we should do is have a plan B, or in industry terms, we need to de-risk a situation, and de-risking that situation requires research into the various forms of fuel or energy that can actually move vehicles, whether they be on the battlefield or they be out on the public roads. Logistics, supply chain management, critical subject for me. We have a logistics and supply chain plan in the state of Michigan. We're lucky that we've got a wonderful supply chain, and I'd ask you to look at that plan as well. So we've got this great intersection between what I'm doing and what you are all doing, and I'd love to hear from any of you that want more information regarding my side. There's a few slides here about urbanisation. It's going to happen more in Europe and Asia than it is here. So the driver that drives passenger vehicle size, complexity, fuel systems, etc., will be less dominant from urbanisation in the North American region than Europe and Asia. That drives solutions, vehicle solutions that are different. It's not one size fits all on a global basis. We in the state of Michigan need to not only be aware of what we need in the NAFTA region, but we need to be designing and engineering for the world, which means learning to design and engineer smaller, lighter, alternative fuel vehicles, ZEVs and PZEVs and fuel cells. There's clear rapid movement in connected, automated and autonomous vehicle. University of Michigan, I would argue, is the global lead in that through the work that's done at UMTRI. We're very lucky that we've just received a federal support for the ALMI Institute, which is headquartered at the University of Michigan. Something interesting happening here, interesting trend developing here. We then, powertrains, I'm concerned about powertrains, and I'll state it up front. We're probably best in class at powertrain design, engineering and development and production in the state of Michigan, but I don't see a clear academic focus for it. I see that there's some great work that's going on, but not a very crystallised, coherent, laser focus from one of the great universities, and I'm hoping that the universities will respond to that. And supply chain management and logistics, which we spoke about. So this is a great summary slide. I chose to do it like this because any engineer in the room will go, Six Sigma, House of Quality, and I immediately captured them. So 3 fundamental drivers for the state of Michigan and the automotive industry for us to remain proactively in front of the wave: technology, talent, and capital. The technologies are identified on here. Talent is everything, and that's why it's in the middle. Yeah. If you actually think about the value chain of automotive, it's all about bright people having bright ideas, other bright people coming to those people with bright ideas and helping them develop them into a business plan. Somebody with money comes along and puts money behind it. That creates the products of the future. It's all about the people. So we're then in the process of developing an operating plan. We talked about strategy. This cartwheel on the right looks at the key subject matter headings of our operating plan. And again, just reflect on that. But think of it as a business. I'm doing a startup company within a company. That's really the analogy. Then we've got some things going on. And I say there's a very important word in that title, which is data. So I guess like many of you, when somebody comes along and shows me something, I say, okay, give me the data. Show me the data. Show me the data. Right? I'm trying to make decisions, and I'm trying to encourage people in my team to make decisions based on hard, real data. No emotion. It's rational thought process based on data. I said it all about talent, you know. I'm pleased to be able to show this slide which I was provided. The ARC has actually contributed to the talent pool in this area very significantly. And you know, you have your 20th anniversary, and congratulations for that. You know, wonderful job. And I'm hoping that we can have a closer and closer and stronger and faster moving relationship going forward. So there's then 3 events that are going on in Michigan in the very near future. A manufacturing convergence conference, which is all about aerospace, automotive, medical and consumer goods, and the convergence of those advanced technologies. Great that it's happening here. The NBS Car Conference and the Intelligent Transportation Systems World Congress, which we're very lucky to have in the Cobo Centre here in Detroit. And again, these contact details are in the presentation. So if you look at my job involves influence. Unfortunately, I come from a world where I've been in charge of a company or a vehicle. I'm in a subtly different world where I'm in charge of absolutely nothing, but I can influence quite a lot. So I'm in the process of collaboration. Switzerland comes to mind very often. Yeah, if I can try to be Switzerland, hopefully people will sort of respect that and work together. But it's critically important for the state of Michigan that industry, academia and government work incredibly closely together going forward into the future, because that will be our true strength. That will be our true strength. So I've got a 2-minute video which I'd like to show, and then I'm finished, and I'm very grateful for your attention, and I'm so glad that you're doing this. I'm glad that I'm here. Thank you. So.